Welcome back to my first DIY video of 2025. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys 3 different Ikea hacks that are perfect for a bedroom space. Now of course these can be totally utilized in different spaces throughout your house, but I'm starting a little series here where I'm sharing different projects for different rooms in your house, all stemming from Ikea. So if you like this video and you'd like to see more, give this one a big thumbs up. And before jumping into our first project, I do want to mention that our online store is currently on sale for 15% off. Use code JUSTBECAUSE at checkout to get 15% off. All orders over $99 also ship for free, so it's a perfect time to shop. Let's go ahead and dive on into our first Ikea hack. For our first project, I'm going to be using this new Ikea stool called Mortors, I believe. I got the gray option, and we are actually going to be channeling a French-style rope stool, which is very reminiscent of the style of Audoux and Minet back in the 1950s, and we're actually going to be using a leather painting tutorial that I did a while back on my channel. This was probably like 4 years old. I will pop up a card for it if you are curious about this chair that I did. And this technique truly is so cool. You have to watch. So basically what we're going to be using is a latex household paint, and this was the one I used for Marie's bedroom trim, and I'm going to be mixing a equal part of household paint to fabric softener. And I actually did a big test on this in the original video where I tried a third part fabric softener, half parts, but as you see, when you mix this up, it kind of creates a really thick, kind of almost latex faux leather coating. If you can kind of imagine faux leather, it basically is like a latexy plasticky coating over the top of a fabric. So that's what we're creating our very own version of. And the fabric softener actually is what's going to keep the paint from cracking and keeping this kind of faux leather very soft and sittable and pliable. Just trust the process, I promise you. I actually created 2 different paint colors, one that's lighter and one darker for shading, and then I have a water bottle here, just some water in a spray bottle. I'm going to add some fabric softener in, and this is going to be kind of our blending agent. So whenever I do this technique or process, I spray down some of that fabric softener in water first because it's gonna allow your paint to spread a whole lot easier. And I'm going in first with a nice thick coat of the base color that we did, which was basically just the kind of light brownish tone. I will pop up the color name if I have it for you guys. I think it's color matched though, if I believe correctly, to the plaster I used in Marie's room. So I don't think there's a proper color name for this, but just any sort of like taupey tan color. I basically gave this an entire coat on our stool to start. And then when it was still wet, because keep in mind, this is going to take quite a while to dry down and cure, I did go in with the darker shade to just initially start the process of shading, because I do want this to kind of look like an antique real leather stool in the end. So I'm going in with the darker shade, just kind of adding this around where it would naturally darken. So around the edges, on the sides at the bottom where you'd probably have your hands on the stool more. So I went around and I added some shading, and this is how it was looking with my first coat. It's looking pretty good so far. And I set that aside so that we can start working on the legs here. Now I actually ended up getting this rope from Joann's Fabric, and I ended up getting 15 yards, which allowed me to do all 4 legs. So I used some hot glue, and I just did this in about 2-inch sections, starting off at the bottom of the leg. I used some of the rope on the inner side that you wouldn't really see as much, and I started adding hot glue and just wrapping this around the leg. We're gonna be covering all of the black of the leg, and this is really what's going to elevate the stool so much. I just love the look of rope right now in interior design. As many of you know, if you watch my trends video recently, I shared that Western is trending as well, which I feel like this kind of has a nod to Western, but it definitely feels a little bit more classically French. But all around, it's just a really nice textural piece to add into your interior design. I also love how this stool's on the smaller side, so you can kind of pop it anywhere. You can use it as an ottoman. It can also act as like a makeshift side table. And I was also thinking it could be really great if you didn't want to do the leather on the top. You can also just get extra rope and create an entire rope stool. If you were to just glue the rope on the top and spiral, go all the way down the sides, imagine how incredible that would be. Just use some fabric glue sticks so it holds down really well. But for this one, I thought the leather technique was really fun. So I then screwed in all the legs, and here is the second coat. So I'm actually going in with a sponge for this coat, and I grabbed a little bit of a warmer shade, which again, I did mix with the fabric softener. I'm using my water and fabric softener mixture as well to just blend this out. So whenever I feel like it's getting a little hard to blend with the sponge, I grab the spray bottle and I just spray over the surface, and it just allows the blending process to be a bit easier. So you can see here, I'm just spraying, going in with the sponge, dabbing, and just picking up some color. This is just how you're going to get the faux appearance of distressed antique leather. And once this dries fully down and cures, you are good to go. how good did that turn out? I absolutely love that stool, and honestly, you guys, I ended up purchasing for my home 2 Monterey chairs a while back. They're probably my most expensive investment pieces in my home, and they feature that rope detailing that I just love right now. So I love that I was able to kind of create and emulate a similar-ish vibe for a fraction of the price, because rope really is an affordable material when you use it in something like interior design. Before diving into our next project, I do want to mention that this video is kindly sponsored by Helix, and if you are in the market for a new mattress, 2025 is the year that you want to improve your sleep, you want to have a better night's rest, Helix is absolutely the mattress company that you guys need to go for. I have been working with Helix for probably around 5 years now, and I've also owned my Helix mattress for about 5 years, and something I can say is the Lone Fox family loves Helix. So many of you have emailed me and said that you have purchased a Helix mattress. The process was so simple and easy, because truly it is. Like, who wants to go to a mattress shop and test out mattresses? I'm sorry, I just don't. And the great thing about Helix is they offer a sleep quiz that you can actually fill out with your body type, sleep preferences, and it will pair you up, match you with a mattress that is perfect for you, that is shipped to your doorstep in a box. It's so easy. You just drag it to your room in the box, unpack it, and it turns into a super fluffy, super thick, high quality mattress, and they have a mattress style for absolutely everybody. Plus, if you want to give Helix a try, you virtually have nothing to lose, because they offer a 100-day sleep trial, and if it's not for you, they will come and pick it up at your doorstep, free shipping within the US, a 10-year warranty, and flexible payment plans and financing options. So if you are in the market for a mattress, definitely check out the link in the top of my description box below. Helix is also offering you guys the incredible offer that you see on screen here, which is only for the Lone Fox family, so make sure to take advantage. You want to have a better night's sleep in 2025, Helix is where you need to start. And if you want to spice up your room a bit, why not also create one of our Ikea hacks, which why don't we go ahead and dive on into our second project. For our second project, I'm going to be using this new table lamp from Ikea. I just love the tripod leg and also the circular shade. I thought we can go ahead and update the shade and give the leg a little bit of a impact as well. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually break out my industrial hole punch. And if you don't have one of these, do not worry. You can totally use just a normal hole punch as well, because this is more of like a paper style shade. So you should be able to punch through it pretty easily. And I went around the exterior of the shade on either side, and about every ½ inch, I added a dot where I wanted to punch a hole, because we are going to be adding some lacing to the shade to kind of give it sort of a southwestern, could be even a little bit of a French vibe. But whenever I'm out antique shopping, I always see these lampshades that have this beautiful lacing detail to them, and you can do this detail to absolutely any style of lampshade. It doesn't have to be this one, so keep that in mind if you just kind of want to spice up a lampshade as well. So I repeated the process of punching the holes on the opposite side of the lampshade. That way it was symmetrical on both sides. I had this leather lacing in my stash for a while. I probably bought this like 5 years ago for a project and just never got around to using it, and I'm pretty sure I got it at Joann's Fabrics, but I was able to use just 1 pack of this for the entire lampshade for the detail on the top and bottom. And essentially what I did was I took it off the spool and I glued down the lace on the underside of the lampshade to start, and then I started weaving the lace through, and all you're doing is essentially lacing it around and creating a whip stitch around the edge of your lampshade. And this process is pretty repetitive from here on out. You're just gonna lace around the lampshade just like this. It probably took me about 30 minutes to 40 minutes to do the entire lampshade, so it really wasn't too bad, and I love the accent that it did. I also think this could be so cute to do on the little sconce shades that kind of clip on to sconces if you just want to add a nice little detail to a sconce shade. To finish off the lacing, I went ahead and just snipped off and then glued it to the underside of the lamp. And then for the legs, I actually wanted to add just a little bit of an additional detail, which this is totally not, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I thought it added a fun look and I thought I might as well just share it as well. So taped off about 1 inch of the leg showing, and then used some black paint to go in and just kind of paint a little black end cap on the bottom of the leg. I thought it would add a nice little detail and just contrast nicely with the brown leather on the shade. So once that dried, I was able to pull off all the tape, and this was a little detail on the end of the foot. It's super simple, but just adds a nice little accent. And here's the best part, we get to screw it all together and see how it looks. So I attached the legs to the actual electrical part, popped the shade on, and I just love how this lamp looks. It looks so cute styled. love the technique of the lace on the lampshade. I think this is gonna be really great for future projects as well, or if I just buy a lamp from a thrift store that you kind of want to elevate, add a little bit more detail to, I think adding lacing to the shade is a nice touch. But you all know I had to save my favorite for last, which is actually a skirted bench. And this project came to mind in Ikea. I was like, I actually love this curtain panel. I found these curtain panels to start, and I loved the way that they looked. I thought the plaid was really pretty, and then I came across a bench base that was actually on sale at Ikea for almost half off. Skirted furniture is really trendy right now, so let me share with you guys how I created this bench. You know I had to save my favorite project for last, so I'm actually using a set of curtains from Ikea. I'm not even gonna pronounce that, in this bench here, which is actually currently on sale at my Ikea for $80. This is what the top looks like. It is an upholstered bench, but the legs on this truly are just so not cute. They're very, very shocking and simple. So what we are going to be doing is actually reupholstering this in the curtain. So I'm starting off by removing all the little buttons on the backside. I just snipped the backside where they were kind of stapled down, pulled all of these out, but we are going to be keeping these because they actually worked perfectly with the fabric that I'm using. So I set these aside, and then I opened up the set of curtains that we're going to be using. And I got pretty lucky because one of the panels was wide enough to cover it widthwise, so I didn't have to use like a whole panel, but it wouldn't even have mattered if I did because I'm using one panel for the skirt section and then one panel for upholstery. So the plaid fabric on top too acts as a nice guideline for when you need to cut. And this curtain too comes in a bunch of different colors, so if you don't like the simple one, they also have like blue and green and a few other colorways. So I'm gonna start off first by just upholstering the top of this bench in our new fabric. So I placed it the direction or orientation that I wanted it to go, and I'm using my electric stapler, which if you do not have one of these, it is a great investment. It saves your hand for any upholstery project and makes it so much easier. So I'll link below the one I use. Just made my way down the line, added a bunch of staples, and with upholstery, you can never have too many staples. The great thing about this bench too is that it's actually constructed out of wood, which a lot of the Ikea benches I noticed were made out of metal. So this allows us to reupholster it really nice and easily. So I pulled the fabric to the opposite side, made sure that I pulled that nice and taut, and then just added a bunch of staples into that edge to have our fabric nice and tight and upholstered over our bench. So for the corners, I actually just went ahead and kind of tucked it like you would a present because the corner really doesn't show, and the plaid material too kind of just hides the corner really well. So I stapled those down all four corners, and then I went ahead and went back through to cut off all the excess fabric that was remaining after we stapled down our new upholstery. Now the buttons for mine actually just matched the fabric perfectly, so I just left them as is. I got some embroidery floss and I looped that through the button, and then I pulled the ends through that loop there, and we are going to thread this through a long needle. That way we can push this through the bench and add in a button. So you're just gonna kind of poke it through the top side. You can feel the hole on the underside where the previous button was added, and I find this part to be so satisfying because it really tightens up the upholstery on the front and just makes it look so nicely done. So I just went ahead and stapled it exactly how they did theirs, and kind of how they did theirs was they just kind of wound it back and forth. I'll show you again in a second here. So I would just feel for where I felt the button needed to go, and then also I used the plaid just sort of as a reference. So all of the holes I was trying to make sure that they were in alignment with the one next to it, and then on the back side you just staple it down in one direction, flip it back, staple it, flip it back, staple it a few different times. That's just going to ensure that the string is nice and taut and your button is going to stay in place. This is how it looked in the end. But something I've been so obsessed with, it was in my trend video, is skirted furniture. So I laid down our second curtain panel, and I want to go ahead and cut out the fabric on the left and right side of the panel. That way we have a hem on either side, and we can just staple our cut edge. So as you can see here, I'm cutting along the plaid. I laid down the legs, and I actually ended up cutting about 2 inches out. You're gonna see when I cut the second one here that I laid down the leg to just get an idea of how high I want it to be, and I just cut it about 2 inches out from the leg. But do not do this. You're actually gonna just wanna cut your fabric panel to be the exact same height as this leg, because the leg does tuck underneath the bench a bit, so there's no need to add extra fabric. You're already gonna have enough. And then what I'm doing here is I'm threading a needle with some embroidery floss because I wanna gather the fabric up on a string, and I'm sewing this on the cut edge of the fabric. So the left side is the hem of the curtain, and this right side is where we cut the fabric. So I'm gathering this up on my needle, pulling my string all the way through. I probably cut a piece of string that was as long as the curtain panel. And once I had that all gathered up, I was able to place this on top of the bench, or I guess on the bottom side of the bench. And I made sure to have it stapled right side out so that the plaid was going to be on the outside. And just pre-gathering the fabric allowed me to lay it on top and get an idea of where I wanted the pleats to go and how much puffiness there was going to be in some sections. Because if I was just kind of organically pleating this and stapling it as I went, I feel like I wouldn't know how much fabric I would need, and I'd probably over pleat in some sections and then not have enough pleating in some sections. So gathering it beforehand just kind of lets you get an idea for where you're stapling the fabric down. And one panel is going to actually cover a short side and a long side. So there is going to be openings on either corner, like diagonal of each other, but that totally does not bother me at all. I feel like a lot of skirted furniture has little kind of slit vents on the corners, at least some styles do. So I thought for this bench it wouldn't be too bad, but if you really wanted to, you can totally sew the fabrics like together lengthwise, so you have a long continuous kind of loop of fabric, and then you can go through and staple it so that all of your edges are connected up. This did not bother me at all, and I went through and stapled down the second panel of fabric along the long edge and then our last little short edge on the top there, just making sure that the fabrics met up on the corners. And last but not least, to finish off this bench was essentially just connecting up the legs. So those were super simple, but as you can see, this black little leg section would have been so boring, and our skirt now covers this section, and it also allows us to have storage on the underside because the skirt is going to cover absolutely anything you hide under here. So you could put bins under here, you can put shoes under here, whatever you want. This is your new upholstered skirted storage bench. And as you can see, the skirt is just a little long on mine. That's why I'm saying not to cut the extra fabric, but for the finals, I just popped it up just a bit so you can get an idea if you didn't do that. And that, my friends, is everything in today's video. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and definitely give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy IKEA hacks. And if you would like to see more spaces dedicated to IKEA hacks, such as bathroom focus, living room focus, kitchen focus, let me know which one I should do next. So leave a comment below. Finally, also, you guys, not sick? Finally, because I have been sick for like the past 2 weeks, and it's finally coming to an end. I'm starting to feel really, really good, and I cannot wait to get super crafty on the channel this year. So if you are not already, make sure to subscribe, click the bell icon next to it, and last but not least, do not forget to check out Helix. Gonna link them at the top of the description box below. If you want the best sleep of your life, moving forward, 2025 and on, grab yourself a Helix mattress, you guys. I promise you, you are not going to regret it. I will catch you all in my next one. Have an incredible rest of your day. Bye, guys.